Hello, Star Wars fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Starlight podcast. We are post-holiday break. We missed out on a week or two of some content, but we are refreshed, we are recharged, we are ready to go with a full cast. We've got, of course, Lord Dagovere. How are we, fam?
Yo, it's so good to see you guys. I'm glad we're back and ready to talk some more lore, baby. Ready up.
Absolutely. And now we've got new and improved specs. Daddy, Sheev, how are you guys? You guys are mogging both of me right now with your camera settings. I've got mine locked and loaded. I got a new camera ready for next week. But Jonny is absolutely mogging me right now. How are you doing, brother?
Doing good, brother. Again, good to see you both. It's been a little bit, but ready to have some fun and talk about some lore.
Damn right.
And yes, got this I shouldn't say new camera. I've had this, but I learned how to properly set it up. So we got some newer quality, some better quality now moving forward.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we're going to start this off. People have been watching new Avatar movie, Avatar Fire and Ash. And Dagovere saw Avatar Fire and Ash. First off, how was the movie? Thumbs up,
Amazing
thumbs down?
movie.
Good?
Amazing movie. Yeah. Amazing movie.
I have personally not seen any of those movies.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, I saw one of them once, like 15 years ago.
Interesting.
That's all I know.
I would say if you want something that is the closest to George Lucas's experience and methodology, I would say watch those movies.
Okay. All right. I like that. Yeah. But the most important thing about watching the Avatar Fire and Ash movie was the Mandalorian trailer that you saw before. Am I right?
Yeah, dude. No, I'm not. Okay, so let me break it down. It's like this is Orlando, Florida, right? This is a packed theater. This is the only IMAX theater, or what you can get as close to an IMAX theater. And Mando and Grogu trailer comes on, and there are new clips. It literally starts out with Mando giving Grogu, like, setting Grogu up with armor, not like full-fledged armor. He's just like dressing him up for today, like going to school or whatever, right? And my God, they look so good on the screen, man. Like, Mando looks so good. A lot of the new clips was Mando beating some ass, like just throwing fists and hitting these giant monsters. And it was amazing. And you know what the best part about it is? The whole theater is clapping and yelling.
Let's go. Uh-huh.
That's big.
The whole theater is clapping
They're ready.
and yelling.
The people are ready.
Every single time I've seen one of these movies, and I think it's been like 3 or 4 now, the Mando and Grogu trailer has literally made everybody get hyped, whether it's like kids, children, wives, whoever. It's just everybody is getting hyped, you know? And I don't know, man. You know, if this movie is decent, it's going to make some money because it clearly online is like so out of touch of like what actual people go that are not on the internet, because these people seemed excited. That was the loudest the theater was until effing shit went down in the movies, you know. That was it,
dude. That is what I think we lose touch with a lot of times as people in the space, people in the fandom, people interacting with online fans a lot. The majority of the stuff that I'm hearing is like not that excited for the movie. But if you are talking about a normie fan of Star Wars, of the movies, and people who really are not that deep into Star Wars lore like we are, if you see the Mandalorian on screen and you see little baby Grogu on screen, you're going to get hype. You're going to get hype. And I think that's what we're going to see as we move even closer to the premiere, as we get closer to May. It's going to be more hype and more, positivity towards Star Wars itself, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. Do we know like the slate of like everything that is coming out? I'm assuming it's all going to be like mid to late quarters of next year.
I don't know.
What, in terms of some of the newer shows?
Yeah, Ahsoka Season 2, Mando Grogu movie, Shadow Mole Lord, Ninth Jedi.
Mando Grogu movie is what, May 22nd?
Okay, so that's like second, I'm assuming, the beginning of the
that's quarter 2. I would assume maybe one thing is coming out quarter 1, maybe just like build hype before the movie, and then there's probably going to be one thing a quarter if I had to guess.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. But honestly, I think I'm assuming like here's my vision. I'm assuming Shadow Lord is going to come out sometime in summer. I'm assuming Ahsoka Season 2 is going to come out fourth quarter. And I also think that Ninth Jedi is probably going to come out late third to early fourth quarter.
Yeah, I
That's
would.
what I'm-
I mean, Visions has been pretty steadfast in like the
Yeah.
October release
Yes.
time frame, so that makes the most sense. And they don't want to like
Yeah.
saturate it. But I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, Dagovere, but the Ninth Jedi will be just a full release of the show. Doing weekly
Yeah, you'll have to
releases.
reveal that. Can you tell us?
Okay, this is just me talking, not
What would you want?
Not Dagovere on production. I do not foresee them releasing all the episodes out. I think that would actually be pretty unintelligent. I think they should be releasing it weekly because I think that show deserves it. But that's just me. Okay, I haven't heard anything. Mind you, I haven't been around production in a while for any of these things in a bit. But I will say that I'd expect it to be treated as a Star Wars show. So weekly releases, I think would go. I think that'd be great. Why not? You should be competing not just with like other Star Wars projects, but also like anime projects.
I think it would be really cool to do a multi-episode release. I think that works the best. And I don't know how the show is formatted, obviously. But what we got with Andor, where there were 3 episodes per release, I think the flow of that works so well. Obviously, you're not going to get as much light in mainstream if it's only, let's say, like 3 days of releases as opposed to however many episodes there's going to be. But story-wise, I think it keeps more people engaged if you can watch like 2 episodes, 3 episodes at a time. Especially, I don't know how long the episodes are going to be, but I think that would be a better way to access it for fans. I don't know what you guys think, but
so I don't know. I mean, did you guys see Arcane at all? I think I've asked this question.
No, I haven't seen Arcane.
No.
I want to.
Damn, but we gotta get cultured in this chat.
I
guys.
know.
Come on,
I know.
bro.
Yeah, sorry, I don't watch anything unless it's Star Wars.
Arcane also did. I understand that. That's a vibe. I get it. So Arcane also did three episodes in their final season, just like Andor, and then Andor came out, and then they did it. I think that's the correct way to do it, but not all shows are created like that.
Right.
With those arcs. I do think though that probably could have helped previous shows, whichever one you want to picture. But because we always have this thing where maybe the first 2 episodes are released and then it goes on to the actual series. I think that's good. But I also think that maybe the episode should be released, whatever helps them tell the story better. Is that 2 and then 3 and then 1 and then 3? I'm okay with that. I just think that you can't F this up at all with the releases, because this is the first time that we're going to have a Ninth Jedi Star Wars Visions series, and I think this needs a lot of attention. My biggest worry and fear is that Maul Shadow Lord is going to outshine any of the attention because it's a canon story, So am I saying that it's going to be better? Am I saying that Ninth Jedi is going to be better? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I worry about these two being so close to each other at release.
Mm-hmm. That does make sense, because I do remember at a certain point we were getting like Bad Batch Ahsoka, or was it Bad Batch Kenobi? Like there were a couple of shows going on.
Overload.
Yeah.
Is what I'd call it. Yeah, I think that hopefully they play their cards right and there's not multiple things going on once, in my opinion. I kind of think it'd be better if you have one thing as like the main focus of, of Disney Plus, of Star Wars, like, oh, this is the one thing this quarter, then no, let's roll this out, roll that out. Because I don't want things to compete for kind of your audience's brain power, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. And that's the thing too, is like where, I keep hearing that it's really hard for Visions to get a lot of momentum in general, because it's kind of like I was talking about earlier this year, was like, are Star Wars fans also anime fans? Are anime fans even Star Wars fans? I think those demographics don't necessarily mix as well as people think, and I think that might be also something that might be troubling for any release for anime in Star Wars. So yeah, I think it needs to be treated a little differently. I think it needs to be given space, and I think they definitely need someone other than some random person on Threads marketing it.
Other than you marketing it.
Yeah, I wonder who that random person is. Any guesses?
Just some freaking guy on the internet.
Yeah.
Mike Irvin. No.
Don't get me started. We haven't even got to everything else yet.
Let's talk about the other stuff that we want to talk about, because I think for me personally, I've been making a lot of videos specifically for Darksiders. A lot of people have been asking questions about the dark side, because that may be, to me, that's one of the most interesting parts of Star Wars in general, is the dark side and the allure of the dark side, and the process and the strategies that people have used within the dark side. And there was one topic in particular in my comments that people were talking about, the rule of two. The main question was, why even use the rule of two? That makes no sense. What happens if you guys both die? How can you even become more powerful in the rule of two? And people were asking questions like, why, if you were a Sith Lord, would you even want to have the rule of two? If you were the Master, why do you want someone that's going to challenge you in your power level? So I just want to kind of go, and we're going to hit Legends and Canon here with Old Republic stuff, with, obviously Palpatine and Disney Canon and stuff like that too. So I guess the main question to ask is, do you guys like the rule of two? Do you like it that it is even like a thing with the Sith? Because we've had rule of two, and then we've had Sith armies in Legends. So just want to see what your thoughts are on the rule of two.
I'll start here as a simpleton, and then I'll pass it to Dagovere. So for what I read, because he knows way more than me, but from my understanding is Darth Bane started the rule of two, correct? Or am I getting the Darth wrong?
No, you are. Darth Bane started it.
Yes, so Darth Bane started the rule of two. I remember in Clone Wars season 6, I believe, when Yoda visits like the grave. And he comes out that he
says he created the rule too. From my perspective, I think the reason they did that is because they felt it was the best way they were going to, beat the Jedi, play the long game, because there's so many Sith they have to train. They couldn't train, I guess, the two most powerful, or who was deemed the most power, because the dark side's based on, power. So that was always my interpretation of it, as a simpleton, as I said. So I guess it's a good thing. I guess they won for a little bit. Worked with Palpatine, I guess.
Only 20 years. Only 20 years is they were in power, which is kind of crazy.
They're playing the long game, that's for sure. Like 1,000, I don't know if it was 1,000 years, but a long time. But Dagovere, what do you think?
I have a lot of thoughts, honestly, and I'm not talking about side chicks. I'm talking about things happening in my head, okay? Because here's the thing, guys, is like a lot of people will say shit like, it was only 20 years. And I think it's the very smallest brain thing that you could say.
Yeah, I wonder who just said that. Yeah. Call them.
Whoa! No. Those are my comments. Those are my comments that we're saying.
Yeah, he's a conduit of what has been said. Yeah, he's a conduit of what has been said.
He's just the messenger. He's the messenger.
Yes. He's still getting kicked down the hole, though, so don't worry.
Good.
So here's the thing, right? Is like, I think of like a couple things. And so we'll start with the lore. All right. So Revan was like the first person that thought about this. Is like, oh my God, all the Sith are freaking betraying each other. These are a bunch of freaking idiots. What are they doing? This is why we are never going to be anything that we can be, because we're too busy betraying each other and killing each other. So we need to find two people that are worthy enough to create a new philosophy of the Sith that ultimately evolves the power going forward. And it should only be passed down by an apprentice that is worthy enough to strike down his master. And then with that ideology, Bane listens to Revan's holocron and ends up forming his view, which is pretty much the same thing as like, oh my God, yes, Revan is correct. We're going to do this. We're going to call it the rule of two, and I'm going to start this shit yesterday, and then he goes off and absolutely slimes, in my boy Daddy Sheev's words, slimes every freaking Darksider that has
slimed.
Yeah. Anybody that he thinks is a false or a watered down Sith, And in my opinion, he was correct, and then he finds his own apprentice in Xana, and then so on and so forth. The rule of two begins. For 1,000 years, they were doing this shit and becoming stronger and more powerful. Yes, there were some here and there that were kind of scrub dubs, but eventually the main thing that happens that people need to understand is you get to Plagueis and Sidious. And Sidious, whether you like it or not, in George Lucas's view, is
my guy.
Is the guy. He is the product of the rule.
He's the chosen one.
He's LeBron James of the Sith.
Yeah.
In no way, shape, or form, in all of these old Republic eras and the before and after the Dawn of the Jedi and the Dark Jedi, the Sith were never in control of the galaxy. The Jedi always existed. The rule of two and Darth Sidious absolutely exterminated the Jedi Order. There was only a few of them left. And even the ones that did survive were fucking scrubs. So that 20 years...
Any scrubs come to mind?
Ezra Bridger. No.
I was setting you up for that one. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, but the point of it is that they did not control the galaxy ever in the history of the Sith like they did during the time of the Empire. Sidious did that. The Rule of Two did that. The Sith sitting underneath rocks and hiding, pretending that they didn't exist for 1,000 years did that, and there was no greater success, in my opinion, that the Sith ever did. The Rule of Two did that. And I understand that a lot of people will always say things like, well, the Rule of Two weakened the Sith. Darth Bane also thought about this too. But what he also predicted was that someone was going to F it all up.
Yep.
Funny enough, the person that ends up bringing them to their highest success is also the person that Fs it up, Darth Sidious. So essentially, what Bane really wanted to see never actually happened because the Sith essentially created their own destruction, which was also Darth Sidious. But that's also part of the prophecy. So... I think it was a success. I think Rule of Two Sith are built different, but that's just my opinion. But I think the most interesting aspect of, as I close this, is I'm so curious about how George feels about the Rule of Two, because his view of the galaxy is very different from the expanded universe, especially during the time of the Rule of Two.
Mm-hmm. I think, and I'll go on a little rant here. I think that it was 100% the right thing to do, because when we look at the Bane trilogy, the first book, Path of Destruction, there are so many scrubs just honestly being handed lightsabers. There are these wars with the Jedi and the Sith, and the Jedi are in the same camp as well. Like anybody who had a little bit of Force sensitivity, they were people were being recruited, and there were these massive battles, and everybody had a lightsaber. And Darth Bane, who is way powerful than almost every single Sith that we see in those books, he locks in with Revan, destroys all of them, just honestly by basically outsmarting all of them. And it really is the evolution, but ultimately it is the destruction of the Sith, is the dark side itself, which will always happen.
Yeah.
Sidious, too overconfident. He wanted to live forever. We see him try to transfer his essence a million times with, obviously he transfers it to Exegol, and then he tries it with Rey and Ben. And you're right. Bane did predict that the Sith were too selfish ultimately to be able to do what was necessary to put their power over. But that doesn't mean that there's not, I think a lot of people associate the dark side with the Sith. Just because there are two Sith does not mean that there's not other dark side users and dark side orders.
Yes.
Which we haven't learned about.
Inquisitors come to mind. I was curious how if you have a rule of two, what does that mean for Inquisitors? I know they had a ton of those in the Empire.
I think that Inquisitors are, specifically because Inquisitors are with Palpatine and Vader, are nowhere near as powerful. So there's not even an inkling. There's not even an inkling that they would be able to betray Vader or Palpatine, and they're not giving the Sith the secrets of the Sith. The Sith is a religion, they're teaching. Like we see in the Clone Wars with Dooku and Sidious, Sith alchemy. When we see Yoda is trying to, kind of. He does his training to become a Force ghost. There's Sith alchemy. There's secrets of the Sith. There's only stuff that two people will know of.
Yeah.
So the Inquisitors have absolutely no shot in overthrowing the rule of two.
Yeah. Yeah. I see them more as like attack dogs. I don't even classify them as Sith. I just see them as little grunts, pawns that are sent out, like almost like a backup quarterback or something. That's really how I see it as.
It's a scout, honestly, scout team. They're a scout team, bro.
Yeah.
They
They
sound
really
like
are.
the scrubs that you described earlier, Dagovere, where they just hand anybody a lightsaber. Like,
Yeah. Well,
a lot of them were former Jedi too. That's another interesting thing.
you know, I get a lot of heat for this, but I personally feel like majority of the old Republic Jedi and Sith were scrubs. Majority of them were scrub dubs. It was people that had an open tryout, and then they decided to give them a lightsaber because the Sith numbered in the thousands, the Jedi numbered in the thousands. So we need to go out and fight this. And I think there is so much storytelling, like environmental storytelling through the Bane trilogy, especially Path of Destruction, where there's a civil war and the Republic is like practically destroying the Sith. And Bane is recruited because it's his only place to go, you know, and he goes to the Sith for them to help him out. And everybody that's fighting in the Sith war, that is one of the soldiers, because Bane is a soldier, like majority of his life. And after he ends up getting recruited by the Sith. And a lot of these guys are scrubs. Bane is like one of the best guys out there, but it's because he has a gift. The gift is the Force. But he's also a scrub. Bane is a freaking scrub through like majority of that book. And it's only until he gets his ass kicked like several times, and then he finds the the archives and the Wikipedia from Darth Revan, and it's a couple things, you know. Then he starts to realize these guys aren't teaching him shit, and he starts to learn from real dog Sith, and then it becomes badass, you know, which is why that book is also so good. But not every Sith is like that, bro. You know, I guarantee you, if you put some of the Inquisitors in there with like the average Old Republic Jedi and Sith, you're going to see how bad they both are, honestly. But that's genuinely how I feel. It's when you see the Malgus and the Revan, you know, and the Bastila Shan, that is like the Tom Brady of that era. Not everybody was like that.
Yeah, and when you see... And when you see Xana, when we first meet Xana at the end of that book, she is sliming, like, she's like 8 years old, and she just kills like 3 Jedi.
Yeah,
like, that's how Bane
Yeah.
finds her. He's like, who are you? You just killed 3 Jedi with your mind.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? So I do agree with that. And it goes to another point where it's like, hey, if you don't recruit these people to the Jedi, they'll just go to the Sith. You know what I mean? It's just like almost trying to get as many people as you can to your side, because it was a war of attrition at that point. And this is all like EU stuff as well. So
They're just getting cannon fodder at that point. That's what it sounds like.
Well, but I think that's also to say like movie characters too. Like even someone that's like our boy Coleman Trevor, you know, that falls off. Like he's supposed to be a Jedi Master, you know, but to George Lucas, he's probably just a scrub that took up freaking space. Yeah. Same thing with someone like Yaddle, but no disrespect to Yaddle. I like Yaddle, you know.
R.I.P. Yaddle.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't think people truly understand how special characters like Vader or the Emperor or Luke or Obi-Wan or Yoda or Revan, you know, or Bastila Shan or Malik, these characters are like, we regard them as like the best to ever do it because they're literally the best to ever do it. Like, you go into the Hall of Fame of Sith and those bad boys are there, you know. Everybody else just built the statue because that's how scrubbed up they are, bro. Well, that's how I feel.
One of my favorite things about Star Wars in general is we get all of these stories from people like on the ground too. Like, specifically, one of my favorite books is the From a Certain Point of View books that go through the original trilogy. And we get so many stories of just regular soldiers, like people who are like Imperials. And I'm thinking right now of the Mandalorian season 2 when Moff Gideon sees Luke Skywalker pull up. And to us, we're like, it's Luke Skywalker. Like, we're not like that. We're like, oh my God, it's Luke Skywalker. But to Moff Gideon, he's like, oh my God, it's the literal devil incarnate to him that pulls up, who to everybody basically is like, oh, he killed Sidious. Oh, he killed Darth Vader. And he destroyed the entire second Death Star. He,
to their perspective, he walked into a room with Vader and Palpatine, and he was the only one to walk out of it, and then the second Death Star blew up. This guy's like a dog or like a god.
So like we see these, he's almost a mythical being, and I think that's like something that we have to keep in mind as viewers, because we know all these characters. We've spent so much time with these characters, but it's compared to everybody else, they are like gods.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way because like before he goes in there, you're already thinking that this guy blew up the Death Star. And then now he goes in there, and now your Emperor and Emperor's dog is dead.
He killed all my friends. Like, he killed everybody that I've ever known, basically. And now he's pulling up to me in a single starfighter. And then he tries to kill himself. Like, that's the reason.
Yeah,
like,
he did.
you see, like, he sees every single one of his Dark Troopers be just sliced like butter.
He knew he was screwed. Yeah.
I think it's so funny too because I feel like there's a Robot Chicken like skit out there one day that hopefully we will get, and it's like everybody's talking like we are about Luke Skywalker, and then Luke Skywalker is like, "That never happened at all. I almost died. Vader killed the Emperor, not me." You know?
Yeah.
Like, this is so.
And I was a legend.
Well, I mean, listen, and then we look. I'm gonna do it. Last
Oh,
Jedi mention. The end where the kids the kids that we see on Canto Bite are telling the story of Luke Skywalker. They're telling the story of Luke Skywalker, and it's him standing in front of entire AT-AT. And I'm sure that story goes, he destroyed everything. You know what I mean? Like the rebellion or the resistance escaped. Like that is the lore and the legend of Luke Skywalker that he thought he never was. And at that point, and obviously in the Last Jedi, he thinks that the Jedi, you know, we're better. The galaxy is better off without the Jedi. But that's another one of those legend moments where like these normal people just, they're ethereal beings almost. They do the impossible. And I know you don't like. I know. Broom Boy's looking up.
Get that shit out of here, man. I'm just
ridiculous. But yeah, I think anything that we want to add on the dark side, I could talk about this honestly for hours and hours.
Yeah,
and hours.
I mean, like I like the rule of two. I think the rule of two is good, but there's also the Lost Tribe of the Sith. These are Sith that are still out there. You know, there's Mark Aragnos, who's literally been sitting there since the dawn of the freaking Sith species, practically, and then he shows up in Luke Skywalker's game that because he's the one trying to body jump and have all these other Darksiders go out and kill Luke Skywalker and reclaim his empire for Korriban. You know, like, so it's not like the Sith just died. And there's also Crate, who's being trained by one of the original Dark Jedi that ended up finding Korriban, you know, and he becomes like a Sith that also falls under the rule of one, which Palpatine kind of was doing before him. Yeah. You know, I understand the hatred for the rule of two, but I just feel like at the end of the day, guys, you know, this is something that was created by George, you know, and then became whatever it is now today because of the Darth Bane trilogy. But also, like, George has always talked about how, like, the Sith controlled everything, which we've never gotten a story of, by the way. That's just, like, George's actual view. And they killed each other to the point that there was basically none of them until they made this rule of two. And that's why I love the Bane trilogy, because there are aspects of that lead into what George was originally talking about. I wish I would get George's view of, like, a whole freaking galaxy controlled by the Sith. You know, because that sounds bleak, bro. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, because I just had to think about it, you know, like, because in George's eyes, these are guardians of peace of justice, the Jedi. But then were they also wiped out too? And during that time as well? You know, where's that story? And how did this come about? You know, that's stuff that I think is really interesting. And I want to know about that old Republic, you know, and that dawn of the Jedi and stuff like that. We're never going to get that. But I think that is very, very, very compelling. And I don't know, at the end of the day, George created the stories for a reason. So do we not want George back since that's kind of like the foundation of his ideas? Or do we just hate the idea of only two Sith running around? You know?
I like the idea of having two Sith running around, but I think we need more Darksiders. Like, we need more Darkside orders. We need more people who are like definitely bad Darksiders. We got Smilo Ren, obviously, who is, Leslie said that he was going to become the first Knight of Ren, and branch off that way. So it's like, that is stuff that I want. And then we talked about the Acolyte too with the witches. Like, anytime that we see like obviously the Night Sisters, all of these people who have different views of the Force, that's what I think would really, I think that would deepen the landscape of these chunks between like the Old Republic and the High Republic, and then obviously the prequels, like stuff where there is not just like because in the High Republic we see that there are the Nihil, right? But those aren't Darksiders. You know what I mean? Like those guys, like obviously those aren't like full order. They're just pirates. But I want to see something that's different than just the Sith, because like a lot of people, like I said before, simultaneously associate the dark side, all encompassing with the Sith. Like the Sith are the only people that can be Darksiders, which is not true at all.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I that's why I love like a lot of the expanded universe. I think a lot of the new canon hasn't done that yet, because I just personally feel like the new canon just doesn't have room to breathe like it did with George Lucas, because he was focused on his movies, and then everything else was just kind of making him money so they could have done what everything else as he approved it. But I loved like Prate. I loved Lost Tribe of the Sith. These were people that like legitimately believed and thought that they were Sith because they were either being trained by an original Sith, or they found a Sith holocron like Bane did. And so they truly believed that they were Sith. I think that is also good too, because then you can see different philosophies of the Sith, and then different sects of the dark side and everything else. Like it's so interesting to do that. And I think that's what's, there just needs to be more capacity for these rogue Darksiders or Darksiders. I mean, even Jedi. Like one of the factions I always talk about is the Gen Sarai, who were inspired by Exar Kun and ended up using the dark side foundation, but had these really weird Jedi morals where they only wanted to defend themselves, and they legitimately thought that they were being light-sided until Luke Skywalker was like, you guys got to ass backwards. What are you doing? The guy that you're following is actually like one of the worst Darksiders that almost killed me. So maybe you should stop. And then they end up some of them end up going up into his Jedi Order. But that's the type of stuff that I think that new canon needs, especially live action, because those ideas I think would be great. And I think that would help people, that would help the story evolve into something that we just haven't had. And it sucks that Smilo Ren was so close. And same thing with even Snoke or Kylo. We just really haven't had big bad Darksiders really taking it to a whole new level. And I think it's about time. I think it's time to do something even with the Jedi and the Sith that we haven't really seen been done before. And that comes with the ideologies and philosophy behind them.
Mm-hmm. Where would you guys start with? What story would you guys start with implementing in new canon? What would you want for, obviously what we're talking about, basically a sect or a branching off of the general black and white, light versus dark.
I'm not sure. Dagovere, what do you think?
Me? Okay, damn. All right, Johnny.
No, I'll let you keep cooking, man. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know yet. Yeah.
Hey, man, I don't mind, bro. It could be story time with Dagovere. I really don't mind,
Nah, go for it, dog. You got this.
I think Ahsoka started it with Balin, and I think that's a really good part. Now push that even further. What happens to Shin? What if Shin finds a holocron or something that is more ancient than a holocron, something else? And maybe it's like a Zepho or a Grisk or... who knows? A fucking Rakatan back from the freaking Knights of the Old Republic. I think that there's so much that you could do and make something new. I think Ahsoka's a good start. I like the idea of this remnant empire and then the Jedi trying to reclaim themselves. Ahsoka's trying to redo something as well. But maybe there's also something from another galaxy that may have remnants or legacy from the original Jedi or the original Sith. That's stuff that I would like to see. I mean, because this is, guys, we're working with the freaking universe here, not one small solar system or a galaxy, and that means that the times are ancient and endless. I think there's a lot of stuff to do. I think Ahsoka would be a good start. I don't really see any of that in Mando. I think Maul Shadow Lord could be good too, but I really think it starts with live action, honestly.
Yeah, I think it should go. I think we should go all the way back. Start with this, I don't know if it's confirmed that we're getting the new Jedi,
Dawn of the Jedi movie.
Dawn of the Jedi movie.
Yeah.
Try to get. I don't really know exactly where this Old Republic video game will take place in the timeline, but
I can't wait for that.
I
dude.
think like
oh.
even like go farther back, you know what I mean, and get like the basics of the Force and before the Jedi existed, before the Sith, like before all of these orders existed. I think exploring the Force that way, where there are more people who are not just all the way on the light side, all the way on the dark side, but I'm gonna say it, gray, okay, not gray Jedi, but we're getting more of discovery in the Force and like how these orders came to exist. I'm not talking about a gray Jedi, but I am talking about like morally gray characters within the Force. I think which is what we got, which is what we have with Baylan Skoll and Shin.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know why I just couldn't think of anything when you guys asked me the question before, but yeah, I'd love to learn more about Baylan and Shin and that whole dynamic and like more of their beliefs. I think that's a really good starting point for this new trilogy because I need to know what happens, and I'm sure we will in season 2. What he's about to pull up on. I'm ready for it. I need to learn more. I see him smiling. I see him smiling. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more about him.
Yeah, I think we might get. I always think about the story, and I don't know how true this is, of George Lucas's sequel trilogy, where because there are a million different stories about what people thought it was going to be, but I read somewhere that he was going to go into like the microbial aspects of like midichlorians and things like that. So I'm always so curious to see with like the existential view of the Force, like that bird's eye view of the Force with like Mortis, and because obviously we see Baylan standing on the statue of the father at the end of that season. And I'm wondering how deep into the Force we're actually going to get with Ahsoka, because we've already gotten the World Between Worlds. We've already gotten the Mortis mentions, and well, not mentions, but like the Mortis. We've seen symbols of Mortis. So I'm curious to see how Baylan fares within that, because it's something that I don't know how many fans are actually going to like that, being so deep into the lore of the Force, but I'm curious what you guys think about that.
I think it's a necessity. I think it needs to happen. I think it should have happened in the sequel trilogy, and I think that's why I think a lot of people criticize Dave Filoni so much. But I think if Dave Filoni was there and helping direct certain things, be like, hey, George did this and this, maybe we would have had these things already have happened. But that's not how Hollywood works. They probably didn't give a shit at all about some random guy that worked on cartoons, you know. And that's just the reality of the industry, though, you know. But I like that. My issue is I don't want it to. I don't even know how I'm going to say this, but I don't want it to be as effective as midichlorians was for like hurting the fan base, right? You know, because in my eyes, it can always get worse, guys. No matter what you think, it can always get worse, you know. But I think Mortis was created by George, so clearly, I think that
it was.
Yeah, exactly. So like
Clone Wars. Yeah, he worked directly on that. Like pretty much with Filoni, right? Like he had a lot of input on the Clone Wars series.
There was a lot of that, and the expanded universe. Oh my God, I'm looking at the shirt right now. I'm gonna have to get this. My bad, it's the Anakin Skywalker one. I'm so sorry. I think that if you continuously build off of George's ideas, I think that's where you hit a good spot. You know, Mortis obviously was great. Cool. Okay, Dave, you've been sitting there for 20 plus years with George's notes and sitting there at Skywalker Ranch when he was drunk on ideas. What the hell else did he say? What else did he want to put in, but you said no to, but maybe you can now, you know? I think that's the way to do it, honestly. And I think Mortis is right up there. A couple other things, of course, too. But yeah, man, I don't know, dude. I just think sky's the limit. If you like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like, you get this, you're gonna execute this idea, and then come to find out this was actually George's idea, and then everybody else gets exposed that, oh, well, we wanted George back, but we actually hate his ideas. So what's the point? You know, what's actually happening here? Do you like Star Wars, or you just, you know? I think that's how you do it. I think that's how you do it.
Yeah, I like that. I think that, I don't know. I think the more deeper that we get into the Force, I think it might be the better. And not to the point where we're talking about microscopic midichlorians, but like when we get the only thing I don't want to touch is for some reason I don't like the wills. I don't like the idea of the wills. I don't like that there are these like ethereal beings that have the end all be all. I know we talked a little bit about who was the old Republic Jedi who like thought there was no
Treya,
or she was a Sith.
Yeah, no free will.
Yeah, no free will. Yeah, that's the stuff.
But I like that. I like that because philosophy is not correct, and I think that's the point. You know, like you talk about the people that should align in the gray. Yes, there should be stupid ass Force users thinking that they can control the dark side.
Yeah,
there should be other witches and other tribes thinking that they're completely right about the whatever the Force is, and they should be fucking wrong. You know, and I think that's the whole point of that, is because Star Wars, whether people like it or not, is a whole bunch of religions getting it wrong, you know, and they're of course they have, you know, the dark side is corrupting them and making them do whatever, you know, or the light side and politics is corrupting them and turning them into dogmatic freaking puppets of the Senate, whatever, you know. I think that's the point. But I just think remnants of ancient this, and then on top of maybe someone that also found like Plagueis' journals and was like, oh my God, the midichlorians. And then there's the Force, and then there's the unifying Force, you know, and that would be really cool because now you're seeing like everything that goes beyond the galaxy and like how life is created. But someone's interpretation of that could be wrong because it comes from a Sith, you know?
Right.
So I think that is the way to go. And I think that you should continuously tell people what X character thinks, only for them to be wrong, because that's the whole freaking point. And I like that. I would even say like the wills are a pretty great idea if you execute them correctly. You know, I don't want to see a will jumping around and using a lightsaber. You know, I'm just saying like I would like the more mystic, magical, unknown version of this. Very similar to like the Watcher in the Marvel, you know, where maybe you see like a moment of them, or this is what it is, or even like a World Between Worlds thing with Anakin, you know. I think there's a bunch of stuff that you can do, man. I don't know. Just send me an email or something. I don't know.
At Lucasfilm, get this man in the studio.
Yeah, get this man in here.
I don't know, man.
Get him in. Yeah, just tweet him on Threads or whatever you call that. At Threads, or do you say tweet on Threads? How do you at some? Yeah, whatever.
I think it's a post. I just think it's
on
a
Threads.
Post at him. Yeah, post at him. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, I think I like that conversation with like the philosophies of all of this stuff. But one of the conversations that we wanted to hit today was EU, expanded universe, and canon, and the discourse that people have in our comment sections and in general, because there are strong opinions about the expanded universe, about the Disney canon, about how stuff is not canon to people, how stuff is canon. We can talk about head canons. So Dagovere, I'll let you take this one just to kind of intro what you've been seeing on your timeline.
Yeah, you guys know I got the biggest mouth, so I'm always the one. I'm always the biggest target, you know. And I say some stupid shit sometimes, but I honestly, throughout the whole year, it seems like people have radicalized whether they like the expanded universe or they like the new canon, and both parts of the fandom always attack. Well, you know, this was actually approved by George Lucas. Well, actually, that was never canon because he didn't like that. You know, I'm just kind of sick and tired of hearing it. And we're going to hear it no matter what. So it doesn't matter what I say. I just thought we all liked Star Wars is kind of like where I'm going with this. I thought, in my opinion, Connor, you love The Last Jedi. I don't like my favorite movie is Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith. It depends how my mental is that week.
Let's go. Return of the Jedi Squad.
Yeah. You know, I like that. You know, I like that a lot. My favorite book in the EU, honestly, probably might be Bane Path of Destruction. But I also like Rising Storm, you know, and Shadow of the Sith, 2 new canon books, you know. But if I say that out loud, I'm probably a Disney shill, right? I just don't understand why we got this way so quickly over the years. You know, I like The Mandalorian, you like Andor. That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty sick. I'm so tired of seeing so many people in our comment sections always fighting each other when we're supposed to be fans of the same franchise. You know, I don't think it'll ever stop. I think people will always continuously fight each other. But I think it's okay to disagree with each other, obviously.
Need to
But
implement the
I
rule of
don't.
two.
Yeah, that's what it's like. That's what
Get
it's
rid
like
of
in the
all the
comment
weaklings
section,
and their
bro.
bad
Yeah.
opinion on it.
I swear to God, it seems like I'm on Korriban and everybody's fighting between Ludo Kresh and
Yeah.
freaking Naga Sadao, bro. It's just like pick a side and then they end up killing each other. You know, it's really bad. And I don't know when it's going to stop. If it ever will stop, I don't think so. But I think it's only going to evolve as time goes on, especially with the new movies coming out and especially with the new Rey movie. I'm curious about how you guys absorb this stuff from a fandom perspective, and anyone that's watching can comment too. How you absorb someone that has that Revan profile picture, or that person that loves Anakin Skywalker, or that person that loves the High Republic, you know, and only talks new to that stuff. Because I have some words too, but I'm curious to see how you guys absorb and what you think about the fandom in general when we're talking about expanded universe and or versus new canon.
I'll say between the two, it's almost like a cult of like some people, they just hate everything that Disney will ever make.
Yeah.
They have their own headcanon of you know, the expanded universe from, you know, what it was before you know, George Lucas sold it to Disney. Like, I feel like that's never going to change. There's always those people that are like that. Hell, I was talking to someone like that the other day. Connor knows this person. I won't name drop them. But I was having a conversation actually after our video about Malgus and some of that content. So there's definitely that. I noticed a ton of people that are just swear by the expanded universe. That's their headcanon. Anything that Disney makes is bad, which I don't agree with. I can definitely see there are things that are not great. Kenobi. But that's just my opinion, and I think people are happy to have their opinions within the space. I just wish people would give... I can't believe I'm saying this. Just give the new content a chance. Give Disney a chance. I can't believe I'm saying that. Because they haven't had the best track record on some of the movies. But I did enjoy Andor a ton, and I love The Mandalorian. And I'm excited for what's coming up. And it's Star Wars. We're all supposed to like Star Wars, right? We should be excited for new Star Wars things. So that's kind of what I see is you have your very like passionate, loud people within the space that I wish would give things a chance instead of just immediately shutting it down because it's made by Disney.
Yeah.
I agree with that. The biggest thing when I see the Revan profile picture and a nasty comment with that photo is, do they know the content that they're talking about? Have they read the books, or have they played the games? Or have they watched a YouTube video about those games and about those books that they think they know what's actually going on, and they're actually just taking the opinion of their favorite YouTuber who's baiting for clicks and projecting that onto everybody else? Because I will have a conversation with anybody who doesn't like a project that has seen the project and thinks critically about the project. But the difference between that and somebody who is oftentimes spewing hatred and rage baiting at comments and trying to get people to respond and try to get people angry is that they actually haven't engaged with the content like that. And that is the first thing that I check for when I do engage. And then after that, it's, you know, having a conversation. What do you think? That's valid. Trying to, you know, have different points and talk about my perspectives, because we all have a different perspective of Star Wars. We all have a different story with Star Wars. We all have a different timeline with Star Wars, but we all enjoy the content. So you have to go into a conversation with that in mind, where you're talking about, hey, I'm talking to another person who likes Star Wars. And there was a schism that happened when George Lucas sold his property to Disney, which a lot of people were asking him to do. A lot of people were calling for him to sell it after, you know, they hated the prequels and they hated everything that was coming out. The Clone Wars movie was trash. The Clone Wars is trash. Like all of this stuff that was coming out, I'm sure it's very similar, and I'm sure Dagovere can talk about it. Like the actual state of the fandom is not what I think a lot of people thought it was, because a lot of the people who grew up with the prequels are now being able to voice their opinions and stuff like that, which is how we saw that switch. And specifically with the actors like Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, like they talk about how the people who grow up with Star Wars, the kids that grow up with Star Wars, are now adults and, you know, express their opinions. But a lot of people have, I think, misconstrued idea of what happened when George Lucas sold to Disney.
Yeah, no, I mean, I talk about it a lot. Like after I saw Revenge of the Sith and up until senior year in high school, which was 2008, it was always he needs to sell it. He needs to sell it. You know, then George Lucas vs. the People had come out around that time too. You know, and that was like George Lucas ruined my childhood. You know, and stuff like that. So it's just, I think it's interesting now because I see the same level of hate, but it's way more divided. You know, people are so like, I only like this version of the expanded universe pre the Clone Wars. You know, I only like New Jedi Order, you know, and Heir to the Empire, you know, stuff like that, you know, or I only like the Old Republic, even though I've never played KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, or Star Wars The Old Republic. You know, I just like Revan, you know, which is cool. You know, digest the fandom and the lore and the franchise in your own way. But again, it's just like, you know, Connor was kind of going for the heart there, you know, with the whole, like, you know, you're just taking the opinion of your favorite YouTuber, which I also think is a problem, especially regarding any new content that comes out, you know. Like, for instance,
very loud voices within the space that if they don't like something, you just kind of hear it regurgitated. Wow, that's a word. Regurgitated, you know, throughout comments, just throughout social media.
Yeah. And like for the biggest one I always see is like when Star Wars Visions comes around and everyone's like, man, this show is so bad, but I only like this one, and this one. And it's literally the best episodes, you know? So is it really garbage? You know, even because they're all shorts and you actually liked like the best ones, you know? Yeah. It's, I think it's just I'm going to post whatever I want to get likes and clicks because this is, you know, who we are. And then, yes. And Connor, yes, I think we all have experienced the people that literally don't even watch the show or don't read the book and just instantly think this shit is trash. And I think those people do the worst damage, because people will just take it. They'll just take it as that's the word of mouth. This show is bad. This book is bad, you know?
Yeah. And I think we have to realize that the space in which we operate is like very niche in the fact that we are talking about books of a movie series of, you know what I mean? Like the voices that are so loud negatively are not as many as you would think if you, obviously we spend so much time in this fandom, but if you were to talk to somebody who likes Star Wars, who isn't deep into Star Wars, like they're going to talk mostly about the stuff that they like, you know? They're going to talk about The Mandalorian is a show that a lot of people love all the way through. And there's some people that don't like all the seasons. There's some people that love all of the seasons. But the people, if you're a normie fan, you're not going to be in the comments of all of these, you know, niche YouTubers talking about like, oh, this show is trash. Oh, this show is this, and that. This book, The Old Knights of the Old Republic, like it is like a small section of the fandom that we are talking about here. And I think they're the loudest, which is unfortunate. But I think we have to realize that the majority of people that talk about Star Wars like Star Wars, you know, and they're not just going out there to hate on it. And we have to remember that Star Wars is a buffet. Like if you love Knights of the Old Republic and you love Darth Revan, you don't have to comment on the High Republic books that you think are trash from your, like I said, your favorite YouTuber. Oh, those books are trash. Have you ever read them? No. So it's I don't know. You just have to go into that mindset when engaging with those types of people.
I always like that you bring it up, and you say buffet. I know you brought it up a couple times on our podcasts. Is Star Wars is such a huge IP, and there's so many different mediums and things that come out. Is you literally don't have to like everything. I know why people think like they have to like everything, or at least they have to tell the world what they don't like. You can enjoy what you want in the fandom, in my opinion, but you don't always have to shit on what other people enjoy.
Yeah, and there's a difference between like talking about something that you don't like and do it and like rage baiting
Yeah,
and like
no,
all
that's
that
what
stuff.
I'm saying
Because,
because you're gonna
yeah.
not like something, but like if you when you like you just brought up, people say this thing's trash. Did you see it? No. Like, okay,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. And we even on this podcast we talk about stuff. Dagovere talks about The Last Jedi. Does not like it. Jonny does not like The Last Jedi. You guys, I can,
50-50, but yeah, sure.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. All right. But like we can have these conversations with, and I love having conversations with people who have differing opinions. But it's when you're rage baiting, when you're just talking about stuff, like you'll get a comment that's just like, oh, it's trash, and that's it. You know, like it's not really worth engaging with that type of stuff. But I do like to rage bait the rage baiters. So.
Appreciate that you do that. It always cracks me up. Like I'll see a video you post, I'm like, oh, I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the game, but
he's giving the trolls, just he's getting a little extra comments. It's good. It's good engagement.
give the trolls what they want. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have a very different relationship to the EU than either of you guys too. Like I didn't really engage with any expanded universe content until like 2019 when I first started diving into like deep lore. Like I obviously I watched like the Tarkovsky Clone Wars, which is technically like EU stuff. That was like my first that's like the stuff that I like first remember about Star Wars is that stuff. But like,
Shout out Tarkovsky.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah.
But like that's like we all have different relationships with Star Wars, and you have to go into an engagement thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so frustrating. I mean, I just hate how I understand that you don't like, dude. You guys know I there's definitely things I don't like, but I just think that the more I shit on something, I'm gonna cause more damage to the thing that I love,
Yeah.
And I know that I can't get over this one movie or that one project, but like I still love everything else that I don't want to ruin it for everybody else. I'll never understand that, but then again, at the end of the day, I'm one of the most down to earth Anakin Skywalker fans, and that's not saying a lot, So
Oxymoronic
Yeah.
statement right there.
Jesus, man, it's so bad.
Yeah.
So
But I also like to remind people that every project that you hate is also someone's favorite project. So
Yeah.
you could hate The Rise of Skywalker. Like, I think all of us think that it's the worst movie in the trilogy or in the series, but it is also someone's introduction to Star Wars. It is also somebody's first step in becoming a bigger Star Wars fan. So
yeah.
when you're making that content that's talking about criticizing a project, I always like to remind myself, like, hey, if I was talking to somebody who this is their favorite project, how would I frame it and not be offensive or like literally just taking a shit on something, So that is something that I like to remind people as well. So
Yeah, exactly. It's like I know I don't like Christmas because I don't have anyone to spend it with, but I know for me, Christmas is every time there's a new Star Wars project, and I just couldn't ruin that for me or anybody else, So I just can't do it. I know a lot of people that really enjoy, The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker and Kenobi and The Acolyte, whatever. But I still think I think it's still really fun to watch it with these people and get their takes and see why they liked it. Am I going to be able to read like Tales of the Jedi with them and get them hyped about that? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I still think it's fun that we have more people than we've ever seen interested in Star Wars that I've honestly never would have thought possible, especially like new gen fans that I was just like, dude, like there's people out there cosplaying with, black, white, blue, green, orange, guy, girl, whatever. And they're just going ham. I saw someone freaking cosplay as Ben Quadraneros the other day on TikTok. And I was like,
let's go.
if you did this in like, if you did this in like 2005, we'd probably freaking hang out. Like I would definitely eat lunch with you because you're that cool. Like that's like, and that's only happening because of new gen stuff. So I love it. And no matter what anybody says to me, Star Wars isn't dead. It's just your love for the franchise has died. And I'm sorry, but The Old Republic's sitting right there, bro. It ain't going nowhere. Dude.
Yeah.
So, you know,
That's the thing too, is this content still exists. So like, it's still there to enjoy. It's not like Disney like threw it into a fire and burned it like all the lightsabers after Order 66. Like it still exists for you to enjoy.
Yeah, and they get money off it too.
Re-releasing new covers, they are not ignoring that side of the fans.
Dude.
I'm reading the one Order 66 book right now. That's Legends. It's not canon, but it's good stuff. It's still content to enjoy.
Yeah, you have your whatever that you like. I have my Fate of the Jedi, Fate of the Old Republic. You know, there's always something, you know, for me.
Can't wait.
You know? But even with anything that I don't like, I'm still hyped as hell for Mando and Grogu, Shadow, Shadow Lord, Ahsoka season 2, baby. The 9th Jedi releasing soon, baby. You know, I don't know, man. But that's just me. You can give me peanut butter and jelly every single week. I do not get tired of it. I'm sorry. You know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
Dagovere is going for the peanut butter and jelly at the buffet.
I love peanut butter and jelly, bro. Listen, man, sometimes you ain't got that's all you got, all right? That's all you got. That's all you got is peanut butter and jelly. And I like it, all right?
Dude, give me an Uncrustable. That's what we want.
Those are really good. I only got into those in the last like 5 years. I didn't even know.
Dude, I grew up on those, man. I would eat those all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
Let's go.
And also, just to backtrack, there is no peanut butter and jelly slander. Okay, I grew up every single day at
let's make it
lunch
clear.
eating peanut butter and jelly. So there's no slander there.
I love
for
it.
sure.
But
Crustables at the meetup. Got it.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Anything else that we wanted to touch on here? We've been going for about an hour, so.
Good stuff, guys. Yeah. I don't think so. I'll just say that I'm excited for more Old Republic stuff, and KOTOR's still there. I think I'm gonna buy it and play it. So excited for that.
It's actually one of the best experiences on a tablet or phone, which is kind of crazy.
Really?
That's cool.
Yeah. I think it's actually optimized the most on a phone and or tablet, dude. Yeah, absolutely. But that's just me. But I would, if you guys play that, we may just have to fucking have a bro meet up and on Discord until we crash out and sleep or something, because that would be so cool to watch when you guys play, man. I would love it.
Yeah, I've never technically played it. I've watched the entire YouTube playthrough, so I know what happens. But I've never actually played the game. I do that a lot with video games. Connor knows, like when the Jedi Survivor came out, I didn't play, or Jedi Fallen Order. I didn't play the game first. I watched an entire playthrough, like 10 hours or something ridiculous. So I have a bad habit of doing that. So I would like to play the game, especially with Fate of the Old Republic. I mean, us reacting live to that, that's a core memory. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely hyped for that game. And KOTOR is only $5 on Steam, so I'm thinking of pulling the trigger.
Yes, yeah, dude. I'd still go and do it, man. Let's freaking go, dude. I'm down. Yeah. I'm so down. I'm so down.
I think we should play. I actually don't know what happens, so I will be playing.
Oh, dude, it's so good. Or just watch the YouTube. Maybe don't do that. Maybe actually play the
game. Yeah, maybe I'll play it.
Yeah, play the game, dude. $5 on Steam. Go get it.
Beautiful.
I'm down, dude.
Hey, this will be the last week that you guys mog me with your setups. All right. I've got the camera locked and loaded, so you're gonna be seeing HD Jedi Connor here next week.
Let's go, dude.
So tune in. All right. But yeah, I think it's a good spot to wrap up for today. Dagovere, where can they find you?
Anywhere you hear some loud mouth that loves Anakin Skywalker, it's probably me at Lord Dagovere. Got shorts every single Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, stream on Tuesday, and then we're here with your boys. Starlight Pod, baby. But I'll see you around. Let's go.
Absolutely. And Jonny, Daddy Sheev, new setup, where can they find you?
You can find me on TikTok at Daddy Sheev, but also don't forget to check out the podcast. We're on Spotify. Give us a listen. Also on YouTube. Episodes every Friday. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And you'll find me at Jedi.Connor on TikTok, on Facebook now. You'll find me at Jedi.Connor _ on Instagram. and at Jedi.Connor on YouTube. So we are locking in the knowledge as the Dark Temple speaks.
Ready up.
Ready up.
And if you've gotten this far in the podcast, thank you so much for listening. We love you so much. We will be starting to level up our setup and start live streaming here shortly. Hopefully, get a community going weekly. So we're looking forward to that. But may the Force be with you. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good rest of your day or night.